I must begin with offering or expressing my gratitude, especially to my Guru, Dr. Anandaji, really offering me this opportunity, and thank you for accepting, feeling honored and grateful. And I'm sorry, it's a bit of little dark here because I'm in Portugal and I live eco-friendly, off-grid here, so we don't have much bright light. So I'm trying to put Swamiji in the background, so you might see a bit of, I don't know, trying to live back in the nature. So anyway, shall we start with our prayer, please, if you all don't mind? Tatganeshaya vidmahe Vakratundaya dhimahi Tanno dantahi prachodayate. Om. Om Tat Paramparaya vidmahe Jnanalingeswaraya dhimahi Tanno Guruhu prachodayate. Om. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvina Vaditamastu Ma Vidvisavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om. Okay, if you all don't mind, let's just begin with a little bit of quiet sitting, just to bring our body, mind, and our consciousness together. It's a beautiful day and a beautiful space to hold together, celebrating our yogic life or yoga day, celebrating these beautiful ancient teachings, especially expressing our love, our gratitude towards all these amazing yogis, these true masters of yoga, wisdom, and how to live our optimum. Just take a moment, and if you all wish to, I'd like you to just pay a little attention, a little focus to our breath. As in this session, we're going to discuss some of the simplest but most profound, applicable, and well-tried, well-tested yogic tools on how to live our optimum being. And in all these tools, to me, one of my favorite tools, whenever I need, just to hold still and pay attention to the breath. Swasa Sakshi Bhava. Witnessing your breath, how your breath goes in and how breath goes out. Inspiro, expiro, purika, rechka. Inhaling the spirit, the vital energy, and exhaling or letting go all the darkness, dullness. There are many yogic concepts around the breath. Purika, rechka. Inhaling the spirit, expelling the darkness. Shiva, Shakti, life, death. With the fundamental beauty, the joy when we pay attention to the breath, it quietens our mind. It brings sense of inner quality or inner tranquility. Just inhaling and exhaling, nothing less, nothing more, just your breath. Letting go of all the thoughts, even our expectations, a region, a cause, a fruit. All your attention is breath. Inhale, exhale. Purka, Richka. Keep coming back to the breath. Now, as you're paying your attention, your focus to the breath, I'd like to bring a little bit of attention, little bit of contemplation, the virtue of gratitude. To me, whenever we celebrate these beautiful events, especially around yoga, expressing our deepest gratitude to our gurus, to our masters, and appreciating what they have blessed us with. Okay, with that curious mind and our love, gratitude towards our gurus, our teachings, let's open up our space, our session, if you all like. Okay, it's quite a joyful and quite interesting subject to share our teachings and wisdom around yoga and these most amazing, most powerful tools from our ancient Indian or the Hindu or the Bharatvarsha. And I guess to me, whenever we're looking at the powerful tools of yoga, I like to begin with a little history of yoga itself. Why or where does yoga begin? And I like this, one of the concepts from the Tantra, and this story between Lord Shiva and Brahma, as the Brahma creates the whole universe. And, after millions of years, Lord Shiva looks down at the earth and he finds everybody's in pain, everybody's in suffering. And he gets quite upset to Lord Brahma that what sort of universe or life he has created. So the Brahma has to restart it. He destroys everything and then he restarts the creation of the earth and the life again. And it goes on and on up to 84 cycles, I believe, in this mystic or the mythological story. And at that point, Lord Shiva realizes that there is something else here. It just cannot be default in Brahma's creation. And that's where he realizes that one of the default, that when the life was created, the human mind was given the potential. It was given the potential to attain the absolute realization or awakening or enlightenment, self-realization, or to attain its full potential. But whenever there is a potential is given, opportunity is given, as we all know that the good and the bad, the Shiva and the Shakti, the positive, negative, dark, light, they always seems to be the two sides of the coin. So as the human mind or manas or chitta was given this absolute potential, it also means it also has the absolute potential to fall prey to the darkness, to the dullness, or the negative side of it. And it seems to be more of the victim, or more people fall prey to it. And then he went through his meditation and his own sadhana. And here we go, the yoga comes out, or the yogic teachings, the yogic wisdom. And this is how we, Lord Shiva was known as the Adi Guru, or the Mahaguru of the yoga and all these awakening teaching. So let's see if I can bring my screen share, if that's okay. I hope you all can see the screen.
Yes, sir, we can.
Great. Okay, so sort of coming up to the topic of sharing some of these powerful tips on how to live our full potential. And really, as I begin with this opening of the fundamental sort of beginning of yoga itself, I guess yoga to me, the way I see yoga, is the science and the philosophy of living, science and philosophy of attaining our full potential. And it's a truly amazing teaching and to go through. Okay, moving forward. So to begin, we can really begin with sort of understanding the 4 aspects of yoga, because yoga for each and every human being, we got the yoga seems to be the most popular. If we call yoga as a religion, then the most number of people now in this world are following yoga compared to any other religion or philosophy, even though, yes, you would say that out of them, 90% people are just following some sort of hatha yoga, physical yoga, and I'm not even sure like how many of them actually follow yoga. It seems to more of a name that people sort of use as a hashtag or the tagline. The yoga seems to be the most popular tagline. So yoga, most people may be following it for swasthya, just a sense of health, sense of well-being, and attain their physical health, physical fitness, or mental fitness. For many other people who really take yoga as a life, yoga as a path, then for us, as Patanjali begins, the first 3 verses to me really of the Yoga Sutras are one of my most favorite practices. Atha Yoga Anusasanam. Yoga is to be here and now in this moment, and to live, to follow the path of discipline. And to me, that itself seems to be really a most powerful tool to live, to practice, because most of our problems these days, most of our suffering is either something to do with our past, as seems to be we are living in our past, living with the past memories or experiences, good, bad, or we are living in our future expectations. I would like to achieve this, I'd like to attain this or that. So there is all this seems to be always there. Okay, seems like somebody is trying to come in. So this whole idea of living in the past and future is always causing us the conflict, bringing us either the expectations, the pain, pleasure, joy. And when we follow this path of discipline, when we follow the path of virtuous, the righteous living, appropriate living, that leads us into the inner peace or inner tranquility. That is yoga, chitta, vritti, nirodha. And when we attain that inner peace, then we become one with ourselves, which has many terms to me, we can say we become wholesome, our body, mind, spirit become one. We can also say that what I think is what I speak, and what I speak is what I do. So I become true or authentic or very well established with myself. We can also say that we attain samadhi, we attain the absolute union. So that will be the absolute path of yoga. Then for many other people, yoga is just the practice for swasthya, swa-astha, when the self is to become at ease or to live its own optimum or full potential. Then for other people, the jnana yoga or the atma jnana, to attain their self-realization or the knowing of the eternity of the Atman, like these true concepts, especially in Bhagavad Gita, being taught to us, like the concept of Purusa, Paramatman, and the Prakriti, the all one, the union or moving from the duality into non-duality. And then we have the sadhus, the monks. Their concept of yoga is to attain absolute liberation, kaivalya. So these are the four, sort of, to me, the way I look at yoga, the four aspects of yoga, and each aspect then will have its own, even though each aspect will have the same practices, but the attitude towards them, or the goal or focus, the mindfulness, is slightly different. And each one also, people may follow the different aspects of yoga. As we see, yoga is a vast ocean of teachings, wisdom, and the beauty in that is there is something for everybody. Even if you just want to look young and feel full of vitality and full of energy to keep going through, then there is enough vigorous Hatha yoga practices like the bandhas and Surya Namaskars. And there are people who want to have an inner peace, inner tranquility. Then we have the meditation and the samyama. And people who want to understand the mind and the psychology, then we have the Raj Yoga or the Stanga Yoga. So there seems to be something for everybody to follow when it comes to yoga. Now, as we're looking at these really, truly amazing, powerful tools, and to live, to grow, to evolve. To me, way I look at ourselves, or the way I look at the holistic being, where we become whole, when we become complete. I really love here Swami Gitananda Giriji. He uses the word like, sort of the word alone, all one. So to me, holistic also means as when we become a whole person, when we become alone, when we become all one. You know, we all are looking for peace. We all are looking for health. We all are looking for happiness in life. And remember that the yogic teachings of Gitananda tradition, we believe health and happiness is each human being's birthright. So we got to claim it. You know, health and happiness cannot be taken for granted. You cannot look after your body and expect your body to be healthy. You cannot look after your mind and expect it to be healthy. So we got to look after them. We got to nurture them and do everything that brings health, that brings happiness in life. So in the holistic being, we can begin with look at our first aspect is our physical aspect. As in yogic term, we have the annamaya kosha, our physical body and our physical mind, our physical relations. So all that is connected with our material life. And remember, without a healthy body, there cannot be a healthy mind. Without feeling comfortable in our body or within our own body. You know, if I'm feeling tensed somewhere in my body, or if there is a pain, there is uncomfortable, there is something wrong with some of my system, then it is very hard to go anywhere deeper in the practices. And, you know, obviously yoga provides us Hatha yoga. There is like a whole system of diet, a healthy diet, the concept of mitahara, eating what our body can digest, and eating appropriately, eating in appropriate time. Lifestyle relaxation. Relaxation seems to be one of the most amazing tool really in modern times, where stress seems to be everywhere. You know, we all seems to be so getting used to or addicted to the stress. And I now and then wonder, you know, when I talk to people, especially in yoga therapy, what life will become if even for a minute somebody takes all our stress away, all this pressure, all this burden. If that somehow get taken away from us, we will feel lost. Mental and emotional being seems to be, you know, the mental health at the moment seems to be there is like a whole emphasis and acceptance around it. But still not really many people look after their own mental and emotional well-being. It's something for many people not even like used to be thinking or contemplating about it. Even though to me, the yoga darshan or the yogic attitude, yogic lifestyle, like the Patanjali's Yoga Sutras or the Bhagavad Gita, it's a pure teaching around our mind, our psychology, and how to look after them, how to attain that inner peace. Then we have the personal family, and social aspects of our being. Now, I know some of us may go back and like, say, why cannot we put the physical, mental, and emotional into the personal health too? Identifying like actually when we come to the self, when we come to our personal being, for many people, it can be totally separate to the physical or the mental health. It's like, how do I see myself? If somebody suddenly asks you, can you please quickly tell me something about yourself? And I've seen many people, they look up at the ceiling or they're scratching their feet or toes into the ground. It's almost like it's very easy, easy to talk about family. It's easy to talk about people we work with. But if we have to talk about ourselves even for a minute, it can be such a tough thing. So what is our personal relation with ourselves, relation with our religion, relation with our beliefs, relation with our life goals or dreams? Then we have the family and social. Here to me, I can look at our samskaras, we can look at our cultural values, our social values, and all that. And abundance, abundance of yoga, it gives us one of the most amazing tools of yamas and niyamas. And I can tell you, in all these years of teaching, and it's something when I was in India a couple of years back, talking to Amaji in our ashram, with my guru Amaji, and she was telling me like how she used to believe that Hatha yoga and pranayama can transform people, can transform life. But actually, she was saying, how Hatha yoga and pranayama actually connects us to the power. They connect us to the vitality. They connect us to the energy. It's almost like it gives you the powerhouse. But the yamas and niyamas help us to refine our mind, refine our attitude, refine our values. And the true transformation with the yoga, with the Hatha yoga and pranayama, can really lead us to become a better human being for ourselves, for our family, for our society, when we begin to follow the practices of yamas and niyamas. And then globally, we have the Atmajnana, or the absolute yogic wisdom. Especially, in our Hindu, in our Upanishadic teachings, we have concepts like Vasudeva Kutumbakam. The whole world is one family. Or I really sort of something I was studying and listening somebody a couple of days ago, when we chant our mantra, Shanti mantra, Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. The first Shanti in the mantra, the three Shantis, the three peace we invoke. The first one is invoking the peace for all that has manifested. Then we say again, Om Shanti, Shanti. The second one comes for evoluting or manifesting towards the living and non-living matter. And then the third one we chant or contemplate for all that is still in the Prakriti or in its absolute potential. It's not even begin to go through the process of manifestation. Here, the peace mantra is not invoked for that I, that me. We are invoking the peace and bliss for everything else. So it's something, this whole global or the conscious living or collective living. And then we have the aspect of our spiritual being. Now, I guess to me, yoga is really all about adhyatma, adhyatma, how to come back to our spirit, how to attain our spiritual realization or self-enlightenment or self-liberation. Like we have the karma yoga, jnana, dhyana, raj yoga, mantra, bhakti, to attain that full potential on our spiritual Now, what I really like about, to me, when we looking at the yoga itself, either we go into Bhagavad Gita, we look at the Yoga Sutras, we look at Yoga Vasishtha. They're not just merely talking about the practices here and there. They are going in depth of understanding the layers of our mind, layers of our samskaras, our genetic, our epigenetic being from the subtlest to the gross level. And it's just very amazing, to me, now when I talk to many psychologists and this modern sciences on epigenetics, I do find it so amazingly powerful to look back to see. Sorry, I think, can somebody mute themselves, please? There's a train going on in the background. Yeah, so, when I look back into our yogic wisdom or the yogic science, certainly seems to be, it's one of the most ancient written psychology, counseling, as well as the science. Looking at the quality, the positive and the negatives of the mind, and then how to deal with them. Or how to participate or how to live creatively, all those life events. And remember, the yoga is not actually to escape or to run away from our day-to-day life. It is to live it. It is to live it with the full potential. Like Patanjali here, he talks about the chitta vrittis. And it is a quite a fundamental practice, to me, so worth to understand for people who are looking for the tools. Pramana, Vipriya, Vikalpa, Nidra, Smriti, Pansavritti. Now, our thought processes, all the chitvartis, the whirlpools of our mind, where do they come from? Pramana, direct cognition. I feel, I see, I hear, I experience something directly from my mind, from my senses, from my karmendriyas and jnanendriyas. And whatever I see, whatever I feel, whatever I hear, whatever going through that continuous process, including my reading, my talking, my hearing, creates a series, a chain of thoughts. Vipriya, misconception. We see something, but we are manipulating it. We are coloring it based on our ego or asmita or our preconceptions, knowledge, and we may not see what is actually there. Vikalpa, pure imagination. We all like to imagine. We all like to sort of conceptualize things. It seems to be such a negative thing, even though it also has its own power. Somebody did not answer my phone. Now I'm thinking, why did that person not answer my phone? Someone did not reply back to a text for a couple of days. How easily stressed we get about these things. It's assuming that this happened, this might have happened. Maybe the person doesn't like me, person is not happy with me, or something else is going on. Nidra, lack of awareness, lack of knowledge or knowing what is happening in front of us. And then the smriti, recollection of old memories and old experiences, which leads us into 5 stages or five sort of categories of our mind. Chipta, disturbed, vikshipta, distorted. It's almost like, here we can really, the first 3 states of chipta, vikshipta, and mudda. We may be looking at our states like depression, anxiety, and phobia, and some of these mental states that so many people suffer these days. They will fall into this category. And then we have the yogic mind, which is ekagra and niruddha, which we all need to work on to master. And then we have the klesha, the avidya, the lack of knowing the truth, or also ignorance. And I really like Swami Gitananda ji's definition of avidya. Avidya is not only what we don't know, but actually avidya is something we know and we don't practice it. And I tend to find that is more appropriate understanding, especially when we looking at the concept of this mind, our self-empowerment and evolution from the eyes of Maharishi Patanjali. As Maharishi Patanjali, his teachings are all about self-empowerment. So he would not be talking to us in a way that you're not practicing something you don't know. So that cannot be avidya. Avidya is actually something I know and I'm not following it. It can be as simple as you are allergic to some sort of food and we still eat it. Maybe people know that what leads them into the pain or suffering and they're still following it. Some of us know if I do a couple of asanas, couple of Surya Namaskars, a pranayama, I will have a healthy body. But how many people actually follow it? So Ayurveda is not doing something we know that works for our health and well-being. Then asmita, this concept of I-ism. And I really love the way Dr. Nanda explains that we all are soham, I am the divine. Our soul, our Atman has the pure potential. It's eternal, as Krishna says, fire cannot burn it, water cannot wet it, sword cannot touch it. It's eternal, it's absolute. But then our asmita, this I-ism and the ego separates it from that absolute potential and makes it I. Makes it the people, the person we live in this body. And dvesa and abhinivesa. Raga, dvesa, abhinivesa. So these are sort of quite amazing. In each of the concept, we can go in depth and look at them, how much deep we need to understand ourselves. And I guess to me, when we're looking at the living the absolute potential, we must dive deep into it. As the yoga is not to go out and seek for the knowledge or seek for the wisdom, we must dive deep inside, deep within ourselves. And the deeper you go, these layers are like layers of the onion, and we all have to go through, face them, and work through them. So beginning and looking at the tools, and when we're looking at the tools, for where do we actually begin? And I love the idea here, as Patanjali mentions, abhyasa vairagya. Abhyasa is doing your practice, doing your tapas, doing your sadhana. And when I'm looking at it in a simplest form for each and every human being who are not interested in enlightenment and liberation, they are just interested in general health and well-being. To me, abhyasa is doing something that works for us. So if you are feeling depressed, if you are feeling down, if you're feeling lethargic, do the practice that works for you. It can be just go for a walk, have a cup of tea, get a glass of water, just sit back for a couple of minutes, take a few deep breaths. So almost like do something to come out from the reaction into the action response. As Swami Gitananda Giri mentions, one of my favorite practice, live mindfully to always act and never to react. Now, remember, reaction is an inbuilt response in us. This is a reptilian response to keep us safe, to keep us protected. If your hand goes anywhere near the fire, before even you know, your hand is being thrown away. So that is our reaction. That is our reptilian or the parasympathetic response that comes from our reptilian brain. Then we have the second response. Then you rationalize it, you visualize it, that there is a candle, you let it keep going, and you just enjoy the flame, enjoy the light. Or you see that the light, the fire is being caught in your curtain or something in your house, you throw a bucket of water on it. So that comes as our human or the cortex response. So do something to create a gap between the stimulus and your reaction. So that reaction changes into action. And I really like, actually, so I was listening Mr. Deepak Chopra a couple of days ago, and one of the research they are doing, they're finding out how, or what is the difference, the gap between our fight flight response or this reaction response and then the cortex response. Now the fight flight response can be anywhere between 1 to 1/10 fraction of a second. So it can be like a 1/10 of a fraction of a second. So this is how quick it is. And if you don't have a great fight flight response, they are talking now from the neurobiological perspective, people should not drive. Because if you take that more than a second, even to quickly decide to brake or to speed up, to go right, left, then you would not have that clear judgment while you're driving or when you're doing things where you need a very sort of on the spot response. And then our cortex response, or human response, where you will have to go through all the human experiences or the life experiences we've gone through to consciously decide what is appropriate and what is inappropriate. That can be up from a second up to many, many lifetimes. And they are talking now, it sometimes can take us many lifetimes to come to realization what is appropriate and what is inappropriate. And I'm sure, when you reflect into your day-to-day life, how many times we find that something we have done a year ago, and suddenly we wake up and we realize, oh, this is how I could have done it. And we know the answer. So it's just the curiosity. And this is, in the yogic self-inquiries, this whole idea of koham, or asking something and not responding to it, letting the answer come from our vijnanamaya kosa, or the wisdom body, and our manomaya kosa. And once you've done something about it, once you've done your practice, once you've done your abhyasa, then vairagya, letting go or detachment. Now, I tend to find it also quite interesting how the abhinivesa, or clinging to the survival, has become so deeply ingrained in us human being, that we may be doing the solutions, we may be doing something about it, but still possessing it. How many people these days we hear, my blood pressure, my depression, my tension, my problems, and how we easily get attached, or how we easily get sort of obsessed with the problems. How many people, honestly, I find it amazing and quite painful when people come to me, talk about, oh, Mr. Jnandev, I want to talk about my depression. I want to talk about my trauma, like how they possess the problem, how they possess the pain. Vairagya, disassociation, detachment, letting go. And obviously, yes, in our spiritual context, vairagya has a very different meaning compared to when we are looking at a very, very basic, or the fundamental of practice of vairagya in day-to-day life for our health, well-being, and attaining our full potential. When it comes to abhyasa, I really love the concept in our Gitananda tradition, as Amaji and Swamiji using the word of the concept, the principle of 3R: regularity, repetition, rhythm. And this is something most people don't have the patience these days, because I guess we live in a pill culture, a time where we want the solution, we want somebody else to do it for us, and we want a quick fix, a symptomatic relief. If we're starting to feel that there's a bit of our sinus is getting blocked, we would prefer to go and get a tablet instead of thinking, oh, I can do Anunasika pranayama, or maybe I can do Jalaneti and I can do something about it. How many people I have been through to help with the migraine and teach them the Jalaneti and teach them a couple of pranayamas, the migraine is fixed, and then they go back to the normal life. They don't want to stick to a healthy diet and prevent the migraine, and then back to the pills, back to the painkillers. Regularity, rhythm, and repetition. Doing something over and over, again and again. It's like digging one hole. One hole, if you want to get some water, if you want to gradually lead yourself to have a beautiful well in your garden, to irrigate your garden, to have the water for yourself. You can't dig one hole today and another one tomorrow and another one tomorrow. There has to be some sort of regularity. Now, coming back to the way Patanjali explains when it comes to abhyasa, eka tattva abhyasa. Now, spiritual context, obviously, when we use the word tattva, we are talking about the eternal or the jnana concepts, the wisdom concepts of jnana yoga, like the atma, nityam. Our atman is nityam, our atman is eternal. We can have the concept of soham, satchidananda. In the context to health and well-being as a powerful tool, the way I always used and seems to be to really work for people when we're looking at our mental or physical health and well-being or the inner peace, follow a path or follow a practice that works for you, what works for each and every human being. Patanjali takes us through so many practices, chanting of the mantra, meditation, pranayama, asana, and many concepts and ideas about or around this abhyasa. But each human being, something really worth to go deep into yourself and have a self-talk, have a little bit of reflection within yourself to see what is it that works for you. For many people, as earlier I mentioned, it can be go for a walk, go for a run, go for a swim, do some hatha yoga, do some pranayam, do some meditation. Eka tattva abhyasa. Do that one thing, follow that one thing, helps you to raise your mind from the lower to the higher, from negative to the positive, from the dukkha to sukha. Sukha is sthanam. Do that one thing. And then when we looking at the abhyasa, then we are looking at the very wide range of yogic kriyas and prakriyas, or pranayamas, or asana, mudra, surya namaskars, vinyasa, and then lifestyle. As you know, whenever we look at yoga, really yoga without understanding our holistic lifestyle, again, does not really or not going to take us much further in the context to the health and well-being. A yogic diet, a regular meditation, or sort of contemplation and understanding these yogic concepts of lifestyle. Now let's just try to explore few of these ideas we look at as the powerful tools, and we'll do a couple of short practices as we go along with it too. Now, coming back to, at the very beginning when Patanjali was talking about yoga, chitta vritti nirodha, tadadrashta swarupe avasthanam. Now, interesting, straight after that, he talks about otherwise, what are we doing? We are busy, we are caught up into the pancha vrittis, pramana vipriya vikalpa nidra smriti. Now, to me, something worth to really go or dive deep into, what can we do about them as abhyasa? Now, as most of our chitta vrittis or whirlpools are coming from our direct experience or direct cognition. And this is to me something such a powerful practice to do, is to become more mindful. Like in our yogic, in our Hindu tradition, we have the concept of satsanga and kusanga. Or if I'm going to read Bhagavad Gita, it is going to lead my mind towards the liberation. It is going to lead my mind towards the higher ideas, concepts, and principles towards life. If I'm going to read horror, sort of like a painful novel or a book that gives me the pain, that gives me the suffering, it's going to lead me to a totally different feeling or different experience. Like in Indian TV is such a terrible example and the best example of it. All the family dramas, all the drama, the conflict between the mother-in-law and the daughter-in-law, all the relations and stuff. If we are continuously going to watch them, we're going to be one of those detectives. We're going to have the same sort of suffering mind that we will become one. What do we watch? What do we read? And what sort of our friend circles, what sort of people, our life that we are living directly. And making that change for people who want to live in a happy, in a healthy mind. And something worth to remember really when we're talking about these mental processes, remember your physical body is literally manifestation of your mind. As when we look at the tantric concept of creation, then, beginning the journey from the prakriti to the purusha, and then through that, we are gaining or attaining our panch pranavayus or panch kosas. Physical body is the last manifestation of the evolutes. And our physical body is a literal manifestation of our mind. So if you have a positive image, if you have a positive mind, then your body is going to be healthy and positive too. Dealing with the vipriya. Sort of working on the or developing the jnana yoga concepts. You know, I really love the idea from the Upanishads looking at a clay pot. Now we can say this is a pot, or some people can say it's a clay. And to me, you know, if I go back into the tantric concept of creation, then I can go back into the Pancha Mahabhutas. Then I can go back and look at it, that it has manifested or evolved from the absolute potential that is known as Prakriti. And the Prakriti comes from the Purusha or the Paramatman. But here in the Vipriya, in our day-to-day living, we are looking at the misconceptions that we conceive in our mind. Easily letting ourselves to fall prey to the negativity, fall prey to the victim or me, poor thing. And our mind needs absolute love, absolute care, just like picking up the weed in your garden every day. So you got to look after your mind just like your garden, just like your plants. Vikalpa. Vikalpa to me, it is negative, but it's also positive. It has the absolute potential as you know, so many yogic practices are based around the imagination in beginning, as we are imagining, you know, until we realize it, this concept of Soham, concept of Satchitananda, concept of Purusha and Paramatman. But we can use that as a power, as a mental ability to keep conceptualizing, keep visualizing, keep imagining these ideas around the universal being or spiritual being. Nidra. The way Patanjali sort of talks about Nidra is a state of lack of awareness or lack of happening or disassociation with what is happening here and now. In Gitananda tradition, we have this fourfold awareness. Chatur ayama sakshi bhava. Being aware to our body, being aware to our mind, being aware to all these subtle roots of our desires and the impulses, and being aware to the awareness itself. Like to me, you know, yoga is all about living mindfully, living here and now. Now, I don't know, when I look at this concept of Nidra, I too tend to find it how our modern life has become a state of Nidra. Most people live in Nidra, you know, there is a music going in the background, there is a tea there are people there is too many things, multitasking going on at any point of our life, where only thing we are not aware is what is here and now. You know, if you go out for a meal or a cup of tea or coffee with friends, the first thing we ask, and anywhere we go, do we have the Wi-Fi? And it seems to be getting worse and worse. You know, it's just like the people who are not there seems to be more important, and people who are there, we are not bothered, not care for them. So actually working on this negative virtue or the negative value of Nidra to become more mindful, to living our potential, to living that moment that is there with people, with whoever or wherever we are. And then the smriti, letting go of the old memories. And many things may be not easy to let go, then we need to learn to change our perspective from I towards we and from we towards the universality. And I really love in the yantrik, in the tantra and the mantra teachings, as Dr. Nanda talks about, quite amazing, that when we change our perspective at this point of our life towards our past events, they can be painful, that can be blissful. When you change your perspective here and now, you're not only changing your present moment, you are changing your past and you are changing your future. So we actually have this ability to even change our past and redefine it, rewrite it. Now, coming back to the Vairagya or this letting go as a tool, it's something until I really come to Gitananda tradition and looking at our step-by-step course, I never really went so deep into it to understanding actual practice of it. How do I practice vairagya from pain? How do I practice vairagya from suffering? Because when we look at the scriptures, you see they are talking about the vairagya or detachment from our desires, from the fruit, and they are talking towards the enlightenment or liberation. So the way Swamiji explains, Gitananda Giri explains the concept of vairagya. The first fundamental step is recognition or realizing or knowing that there is a problem. Because the denial seems to be driven by the ego. When we talk about it, okay, how can I help? You know, how many people I come across when they come to actually talk to me about yoga therapy or get some help, counseling about yogic wisdom, and like, okay, how can I help? What is the issue? Oh, I'm okay. I don't have a problem. Especially people with anger, people with some of these frustration and guilt issues, our ego overrides them, and it like to redefine something different. Knowing the problem, knowing the issue, accepting it. Now, once we know the issue, once we know the problem, there may be a solution. Maybe two people can sit down together and one may realize that was me being stupid or that was me being wrong. Please forgive me. And I will make the adjustments. I will do what I can to change the situation, to change the life. But not every problem have a solution. Many problems, many things we need to resolve. Resolve between the groups to come or to find the middle path. As you know, when we look at the conflicts, I have come across many people where either the both people are wrong in a conflict or nobody is wrong. It's just a different perspective, you know, like the example of elephant and the blind people. Somebody is holding the leg, somebody is under the trunk, somebody is holding the ears, somebody is holding the, you know, under the holding the tusk of it. If each one of us is telling us what they feel or what it is like, their definition is going to be different. Now, these seems to be the easier options, but you see, as life is so complex, our life experiences are so complex that the solution and resolution is not always there. So there are many problems that we have to grow above or grow out of them. You know, there are many times we cannot even change the situation. We just have to live through it by growing above them, giving up, even realizing about lots of things that I cannot do more than what I'm doing. This is the concept, the principle of Iswar Prasadanam or Iswar Pranidhanam. Believing in the divine, believing in the higher reality, and reminding ourselves that I have done my best, not more I can do, leaving the rest, giving up and giving in, and then letting go. Letting go or disassociating, rewriting or rephrasing our existence, our being. And it's something, when I look at the neurobiology, every thought, every memory we hold on to, every memory we repeat, our brain creates the image, and with that image, our body has to respond to it. So it's almost if you are sitting there and thinking, as we in yoga, we talk about Sat Chit Ananda, Sat Chit Ananda, Sat Chit Ananda. If you repeat that a couple of times, then you also meditating on the meaning. Your brain is creating the image, and then it is stimulating those neurochemicals right through your body to experience it. And this is where the mantra chanting, this is where the contemplations comes from. Why Lord Krishna says, keep reminding yourself, keep chanting, keep meditating on the divine, the higher self. Because then your body will keep manifesting it through the biochemicals, and it will become our experience. Our abhyasa will lead us into the experience. And something I was reading in one of the the Zen meditation books where Lord Mahavira, he talks about the meditation as the positive meditation, the negative meditation. So the negative or the harmful meditation is letting our mind to be continuously focused on the negativity, the pain, the suffering, the problems. And then the positive mindset, positive meditation, when you are focusing or keeping your mind focused into the higher or the positive state. In the Vairagya, also like one of the really truly amazing practice where Lord Krishna is talking in Bhagavad Gita. I cannot remember exactly, is it the chapter 16th or the 17th, but it's okay. That's something we can look into as a reference. And he talks about the Kalpa Vraksha. And he said, our mind subdivides into many, many minds, and our life is like a Kalpa Vraksha. It's a wish tree. And we become, or we achieve or attain the Asura or the Sura Prakriti. So the divine or the demonic nature. And that depends on where the roots of the mind are connected. So if our roots of the mind, our experience is connected to the negative things, the negative activities, it becomes negative. And he said, the abhyasa is to remove your roots from the negative and then connect your roots to the divine, to the higher, or to the cosmic or the self concepts and ideas. And that is letting go, isn't it? Detaching ourselves from the pain and connecting ourselves to the blissful being, to the higher concepts or the higher wisdom. Now, looking at the pure, sort of these beautiful, effective, efficient, accessible, and economic tools, which are very well proved, it's so worth to, to me, when I follow all these research studies has done by Dr. Nanda in the Balaji College, and then so many other amazing yogic institutes, like we have Kavella Dhamma, the S Vyasa, and then the global places where we are being now, we live in a time and the age of yoga where so much research being done. The simplicity and the profound practices, the way they work. Now, as we are really here at the moment, we're talking about the Gitananda practices. And some of my favorite practices when we look at the Gitananda tradition and the practical tools of the liberating our mind our jatis. Jatis sort of really, to me, think of them as the unstructured, unorganized practices of your body, your limbs, and your joints to de-stress ourselves. It can be just as simple as just shaking your hands and shaking your legs and shaking your head, bouncing and circling and crawling around. Doing something to stimulate your joints, stimulate your neuromuscular system, your peripheral nervous system. And when you stimulate them, what it does, when you stop doing that, it fires back the relaxation response. It's almost like, if you keep pressing your hands against each other really strong, and when you let go, you experience that relaxation. So let's just try to do a little practice to distress and hope you all can enjoy it. So if you all like, you can sit comfortably. If you want to stand up for a moment, just to give yourself a bit of break, that's fine. And let's just give a bit of shake to our right hand. Shaking of your right hand. Just give it a really good shake. And when you're shaking your right hand, I'd like you to feel the vibrations in the knuckles of your fingers. Feel the vibration in your wrist, feel the vibration in your elbow. Let's take our hand above our head and keep shaking of the right hand to the front side. And then shake your left hand, give a big shake. And really pay attention to all the vibrations, all the sensations. Let's do both hands. Shake. I like you to shake your hands around your head. Try to also feel you're trying to clear up or gather up any stress, any stagnant energy. Shake. And let's just shake our head. Maybe you can loosening up your jaw a bit and make the sound ah. And then breathe in, draw it all in and whoosh away and let go. Now, can we all just sit quiet for a minute? I'd like you to close your eyes. Close your eyes and feel the response that is fired back from your cells, your muscles, your joints, back towards your brain. I feel stimulated. I feel relaxed. To enhance our relaxation response, to enhance this letting go response. Try to breathe in it. Just to inhale and exhale, deep and conscious. Inspiro, expiro. Okay, that was fun. I hope you all enjoyed doing a little bit of waking up of the body, the joints, and the muscles. Nada. Nada, or the sound practices, like the sounds we have, like the hakara. I tend to find it, like with the children, they really love doing these sounds. And in school that I work alongside running the teacher training courses and all that in UK, and also sometimes I do work a bit in Portugal too. Making a bit of noises with the kids really can help them to release this stagnant energy, this frustration, anger, the tension that can build easily. Like ha 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 ha, or ho 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 ho. Or you can do even simple sound like e, or we have the simba sound, the roar, to release the tension. Our Indian culture, something when I look back, our ancient culture, we had this amazing power inbuilt in us through our culture, through these yogic teachings or the Hindu lifestyle, where actually the making sounds seems to be quite a practice, isn't it? People, even if they are not happy, they are upset about something, people used to express it, not hide it, not suppress it. It used to make these different noises and come out through the practices. Now, one of my favorite practices when it comes to the sound, when we're looking at actually creating a positive image or creating a positive vibe around us, is the Brahmari Pranayam. The Brahmari Pranayam, in some traditions and in the Tantric scriptures, also known as Mahapranadvani, the sound of the Mahaprana, the greatest of the sound. And the humming sound, the Brahmari Pranayam, when I actually look at the essence, the vibration of it is when you're really happy about something. To me, if I want to express my joy about myself or my life or my surroundings or whatever is happening around me, but I don't have the words to explain, I don't want to manipulate it, and someone brings you a nice food and you look at it, say, what do you think? Like, you have a nice cup of tea. What do you think of this art? Or what do you think of this music? So even making that Brahmari sound a couple of times, ideally to me, I would say 3 times a day or 5 times a day, as Patanjali talks about. Mardu, madde, adimatra. So the mardu is do as and when you can, at your convenience. The madde is a bit of intensity, bit of sincerity, and adimatra when you're really following the practice for the full benefit. So 3 to 5 times a day, you will see that your neurobiology, your nervous system, your thought process, or the inner image will begin to change. So let's try to do the 3 rounds of the sound, if you all don't mind, please. So I'd like you to just come back and sit really comfortably. If you can, have a straight spine with the chin up and eyes gently and softly closed. Now, before we begin the sound, I'd like you to connect yourself with your own individual self and create that positive image your blissful being, where you are happy, where you are content with yourself. You are looking at the positive being, you are looking at the goodness, the virtue, the joyfulness. And with that virtuous mind, or with that joyful me, I within myself, I would want to make that extended humming sound, the Brahmari without breath. Let's breathe out with the meaning in. Breathe in. And as you make the sound, try to really feel that you're expressing your joyfulness, your anandam. Let's do one more with the full intensity, with deep love and gratitude. In. And then try to bring this love, this deep gratification in your heart, in your meaning. You mean it. And feel that experience. Now here, when we look at the nada or the sabda, the sound, we can look at so many other mantras and the chanting, and like, Patanjali talks about the pranava om, to work or to deal through all our life problems and the conflicts. Chant the mantra om, and focus on the meaning, the essence of it. So there are many sounds. For now, we just sort of tried a very simplest of the practices. Spanda nispanda, action, relaxation. Prakriti and the Brahmanda, the manifest. Everything that is in its potential, that is in deep relaxation, and everything that is in action. And sadly, one of the thing, I guess, as every time I come back in India now, it's changing in our Indian yogic places too. But in the West, one of the thing I do find it quite sad, really, what has been taken away from the Hatha yoga or the physical practice of yoga. Like we have, the Bikram, we have the Astanga, we have the Vinyasa, and they have really taken away the relaxation response of the practice. Because traditionally, the Hatha yoga used to be, do your posture, do your Surya Namaskar, do a stretch, do something, and then after a couple of rounds or after a few minutes of postures, you step away and go into relaxation, go into Nispanda. So the Hatha yoga, primarily used to be to enhance the relaxation response. It never used to be to stretch. Now these days, I hear how many people talk, I go to stretch, I want to become flexible, I want to stretch deeper, I want to have a deep stretch, I want to, attain something from it. But really, the Hatha yoga practices in the ancient concept were based around spanda nispanda, doing something, coming into action to experience the relaxation, to enhance the relaxation response. Creating a tension, like we have the Tada Kriya or the Tadasana, big stretch, and you come back to relaxation. Big stretch, come back to relaxation. Maybe doing a couple of rounds of Surya Namaskars in a flow, and then you just hold still for a few moments. To me, this is also the concept of the Purusha and Prakriti. Prakriti is the potential. It is in potential in relaxation. in ease. And you know, something, or modern medical science uses the concept of nispanda quite a lot. When somebody is in a total distress and their body is not healing, either they have gone through some surgery or they have accident, they have been induced, many people get induced to the controlled coma, unconsciousness. They keep them under the medical process, just like the coma. So they keep them induced by the medicine. So their body and the mind is not in this constant conflict, and that enhances or empowers the healing response. Spanda nispanda. Doing your practices and relaxing in between. Relaxing in between, as long as you feel the relaxation or you feel the response, feel the stimulus of the practices. Now, the spanda nispanda can as simple as just giving a big tension to your body and relax. Tensing your body, relax. Tensing your body, relax. Like, to me, the bandhas are such a great example on working on the three granthis, or Ganesh, or our Brahma, and then the Rudra granthi. So all the nodes into our lower abdominal and the pelvic area, anal area, then the nodes of our life that we create in our solar plexus area and our throat area. Sort of giving it attention through the bandhas and relaxing to release these three seats of our physical, mental, and emotional, or our speech and the verbal blockages of the life. Spanda nispanda. Doing something and then letting go into the relaxation response. Yoga to live our full potential. A daily Hatha Yoga practice. Now, to me, again, it does not have to be 1.5 hours or 2 hour practice or hour practice. It can be as simple as just a few minutes of doing something for your physical health, doing something for the energy to flow freely, doing something to have the optimum polarity. And you know, when your body is healthy, when your body is fit, then you have a healthy mind and full of energy, full of vitality. In beginning, remember, even people who are interested in meditation, they need so much prana, so much vitality. Otherwise, we sit quiet for a couple of minutes, and I've seen more than half people, either they've fallen asleep or they're just wandering around into their own chitvartis or the thought patterns. Also, when we're looking at the body, mind, health, and well-being, our yoga nidra, yogic relaxation practices. There are so many relaxation practices and the yoga nidra visualization practices. A pranayama, a regular pranayama practice. And I tend to find it quite interesting as when we understand this concept of polarity, or concept of the positive and negative energy, concept of our aura or the pranic energy field, and how depleted we are into this positive or into this polar, into this energy concept or the energetic principle. Now, the depolarization may be happening due to our stress, our lifestyle, our food. And now in modern time, we also got this depolarization happening because of the pollution. Now, I'm not just talking about the air pollution, energy pollution, or the sound pollution. We also have the electromagnetic pollution, the TV, the radio, all this Wi-Fi, all these electromagnetic waves that we live in. And Swamiji mentions one of the most profound practice in this modern time, people who want to live healthy or have this enhanced polarity, Savitri rhythm pranayam, the solar pattern of the breath. And that is 2-1-2-1 breath. So the easiest one is in for 6, hold for 3, out for 6, and hold out for 3. And it just draws your pranic energy to flow inward while you're doing it, and enhances not just the relaxation of your body and mind, but it enhances the polarity or creates a stronger electromagnetic or the energetic field around us. And I'm quite happy to admit that since 2006, I learned the practice. I have been following that Savitri rhythm pranayama every day in my life. 9 rounds, it takes us around 3 to 4 minutes. count your breath with your heartbeats. So again, maybe let's just do it for a couple of rounds. Sometimes nice to get a bit of relaxation and even giving our brain a bit of break to continuously processing these wisdom ideas. So again, if you like to, let's just come back to a nice comfortable seat. You can have your hands on your knees, you can have your hands on your lap. And then gently and softly close your eyes. We'll follow the 6-3-6-3 rhythm. Savitri Pranayam, Solarvarti. Breathe out. Slowly. In, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hold. 2, 3. Out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hold. 2, 3. In. Hold. Out. Hold. In. Hold. Out. Hold. Keep following a few more rounds on your own. I also like to chant my mantra Om with the breath to count the mantra. Like, so with the inhalation, I'll count 6 Oms. Om, 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 Om in my mind, then holding for 3 Oms. Om, Om. Exhalation for 6 Oms. Om, 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 Om. Hold for 3 Oms. So you can also chant your own mantra if you have one. It's a very beautiful practice, very profound pranayam, also to create a gap, to create a space for ourselves, for our own inner healing. And then if you always do, let go. Just let go and sit still for a few moments. Just to really feel or experience the sensations, the peace, the clarity from deep within. And gradually that can lead us into our daily meditation practice. As you know, I remember my psychology professor used to talk about eating food for nourishing, for nurturing your body, and a quick meditation. The meditation can be a good few minutes, or it can be a couple of hours, depending on each one's life and time and space we have. A little space to meditate, little space to sit quiet, practice silence, practice mona, or you can use a guided meditation breath to recharge, to feed something good, something healthy, something nutritional or positive to the mind. Continuing through this, living the full potential. And as Amaji talks about, health and happiness is our birthright. How do I claim that health and happiness? Living virtuously, living or adhering or following of the yamas and niyamas. To me, that's where really the yogic life or the yogic being begins. It begins when we begin to follow or live or adhere with the basic, the fundamental practices of yamas and niyamas. Yamas and niyamas can be understood as the practice that is how to establish a healthier relation with the personal, with the self, with me, myself, then how to establish a healthy, a peaceful relation with all my family, my society, people, and then how to establish that same relation with the universe, all the living and non-living being. To me, like as in our Hinduism, we say ahimsa paramo dharma. The non-violence is the highest virtue to practice. The attitude of non-harm, not harming others, not harming ourselves, and not allowing somebody else to harm. So doing, not allowing, and not supporting. To me, when we think of the virtuous living, there is no third option really. We have only two options. Something is appropriate or something is inappropriate, right or something is not right. Something is good and something is not good. Now, when we come to the virtuous living, or when we come to these virtuous values, I guess the root cause, the root problem is this difference between the good and the pleasure, good and pleasant. You know, the pleasant may or may not be good. And the good definitely, in my experience in beginning, seems to be not pleasant. Once you grow above these mundane desires and the mundane liking, disliking, sukha, dukkha, raga, dvesa, then we begin to experience the state of bliss or Satchitananda. But in beginning, it seems to be there is a more drive force towards the negativity. Our diet, our yogic diet or the sattvic diet plays a huge role in our health and well-being. You know, and I see, like, even from the neurobiological principles and so many studies, when I read the modern scientific studies, if we are eating a meal that is prepared in a negative environment, or if you are eating meat, if you are eating animals, we are eating the memory that comes with that food itself, where the food is grown, how the food is being prepared, and then what sort of food we eating. Does that food have life? Does that food has the potential to connect us to our abundant or the true nature, or does the food brings us more samskaras, more negative energy? A yogic or the sattvic diet. The sattvic or yogic diet can be as simple as eating what your body can digest. You know, one of my fundamental principle I share with people, do a little bit of self-study, self-assessment. Whatever you eat after eating your meal, do a little bit of observation. Do you feel heavy? Do you feel lethargic? Do you feel light? Do you feel charged up? And decide your diet based on that, how your body feels or responds to it. The 4 fundamental practices to deal with the obstacles: maitri, friendliness, karuna, kindness, compassion. Mudita, the sense of this cheerfulness or about yourself. Be cheerful about your life. You know, try to invest a little bit in laughter, try to invest yourself a little bit in comedy or into that happiness. And upeksha, the equanimity, living in balance, always finding yourself into the positive mind, like pratipaksa bhavanam, contemplating on the opposite. Whenever you're feeling stuck into something negative, something dark or something dull, pay attention to the higher or the positive. And then we have the samyama, the last 3 limbs of Ashtanga Yoga: dharana, dhyan, and samadhi. Our concentration, meditation, and absorption into the absolute concepts or the principles. Okay, I think that brings us towards the end of this topic, and we got a little bit of time to share. And if some of you have maybe something you want to ask, or please do that so. And I have tried to summarize, you know, the bigger picture of yoga in a little space. And this is not the easiest thing to do justification to actually run a session or a talk for my guru, Dr. Nanda. So I'm really sorry about that. I cannot be him, even though I try my best to represent the tradition and teachings. But I enjoy teaching and sharing, and I'm quite also feel humble and gratitude. And I tend to see myself as I'm a learner. I'm learning more than maybe I'm teaching. So thank you for letting me learn and talk and meditate on these ideas.
Thank you, Yogachariya Jnandev Ji. This was a beautiful session, a beautiful enlightening session on powerful tips to live longer and better. I totally understand that we all are living a good life. We are living a long life, but a happier and a quality life is really possible through yogic practices. This is true that we are living in a culture of pills. We need a quick reaction. This is really true. And that somewhere makes us impatient also. But very well said that the foundation of this could be laid through yogic practices, through abhyasa and vairagya. And I request all the participants that if you are practicing yoga, practice it whatever way you can practice. Thank you so much. And if you have any questions, please unmute yourself. If you have anything to share with Yogachariya Jnandev Ji, please, I request to unmute yourself, and it would be wonderful to see you with your videos on.
Certainly, true. It's nice to see everyone's face.
Hello? Hello?
Yes, Subhraji, we can hear you.
Yes. Thank you.
I think Subhraji, your internet is you are not in a good internet connection. Please, I request that either you type here.
Okay.
In the meantime, if you have any more questions, please feel free to unmute yourself and ask.
Hello.
Namaste ji, namaste, hello.
Namaste ji, Om Namo Narayan. Thank you, Acharya ji, for this lecture. I'm curious if you could just talk about the difference and maybe similarities between yoga and tantra. I think the West has taken it very, very far and maybe adulterated and watered it down, but I'd like to hear from you what you see as a difference or similarities between yoga and tantra, or if they're one and the same, or how you can give me some clarity around this topic. Thank you, Ji.
Thank you. That was, I guess, a very interesting question, really. And for me, it's quite interesting because while I was in India, I was following the tantric path of yoga from the Nath tradition, and then following Gitananda tradition from the Giri tradition, where also all our fundamental practices are rooted into the tantra. Obviously, in the West, the meaning of tantra is totally different, totally irrelevant to what the practices are. So to me, the way I see the yoga and tantra, really, they cannot be separate. Unless we are looking at just the philosophical concepts of yoga, or this virtuous concept of yoga as a science, and then you separate the practices from it, then you will see the tantra yoga and the yoga itself becomes two different practices. But in a true meaning, the Ashtanga or the Raj Yoga is also the part of the Tantric Yoga itself. As it becomes with the virtues, it becomes with understanding the philosophy and the psychology of the mind. And then the Hatha Yoga, Pranayama, Mantra, Mudra, and all these energy concepts of the Shiva and Shakti, they really are rooted into the Tantric tradition. So I guess to me, if you're following some form of Hatha Yoga, then you are certainly following the Tantric tradition or the Tantric path of ancient Hindu or the yogic tradition that we follow. And the whole this Western idea of Tantra is a totally different thing. And this is not really the appropriate time. I guess I don't really want to go into that for now. Hopefully that gives you a little bit of clarity on yes, we cannot separate yoga, tantra, or the so many other parts of yoga. To me, we cannot really separate bhakti from the hatha, hatha from the dhyana, or the dhyana from the jnana, jnana from the raja. They all are really one. And I love when Swami Gitananda Giri talks in Yoga Step by Step. He said, for us, yoga is yoga. You cannot separate different limbs. It's almost like, can you say your hand is separate to your body? Is your body separate to your mind? Your mind is separate to your soul? Yes, there are the layers, but our existence is only exist when they all are together. So if you're looking at the yoga as a whole, as a holistic living process, then they all are one, and we cannot separate one from the other practice.
Thank you, Swamiji. Swamiji, our next question is from Subra, and she's asking, please repeat the Hakara sound technique.
Okay, so the Hakara sound technique is quite a powerful practice really in our Gitananda tradition, and we can do it as a Malla Kriya, so where we stand straight with our arms across like the restless practice, and when we do the sound Ha, we press down to the squat, but we also have a mix of sounds like Ha, 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 ho, 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 hu, 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 he, me, di, and then we say go, 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 go. So this is whole letting go practice. And I think if anyone is interested, you can easily go through, look at on Dr. Nanda's YouTube channel, and there are quite a lot of talks and videos around these practices. So I would say, please, find his YouTube channel, and you will find the whole practice. But it's just making these sounds to release that.
Sir, please tell the YouTube channel name.
If you just search for Dr. Ananda Bal Yogi Bhavnani on YouTube, and it will come up.
Okay.
Yeah.
We will share with you, Subraji. We'll share with you.
Yeah. And if you need, yes, I'm happy to also send the links. But I think you got all the links to share for Dr. Nanda's channel, please. That will be sort of any practice I spoken here. You can also type them, and there will be a full talk on each of the bullet points we try to cover in this hour and a half.
Thank you, Swamiji. And we have a question from Dr. Kalpana. And I request this will be the last question.
Mike, could you please repeat that solar breath?
Yes, so the solar breath is a Savitri rhythm pranayam, and in Savitri rhythm pranayam is sort of following the solar pattern or the solar mandala of the energy, and it follows this 2-1-2-1 ratio. Now, in the yoga therapy or in our therapeutic environment, you may use the 4-2-4-2 rhythm, as lots of people cannot do the 6 count of breath. So you'll be inhaling for 4, holding for 2, exhaling for 4, and then holding out for 2. For the yogic breathing, then the lowest of the rhythm, that is 6-3-6-3. So we inhale for 6 counts. You can count the breath with the ticking of the clock, or you can also count your breath with your heartbeats. So inhaling for the 6 counts, like in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then you hold the breath, Antar Kumbhaka, for 3. So 2, 3, and then you expel, Rechika for 6 counts, and then hold out for 3. You can practice 8-8 rhythm, or you can go into the higher rhythms as deeper you relax into it. And I think if anyone interested, then you can go up to 64-32, 64-32, and that will be certainly lead you into a total enlightenment or liberation, or this pure state of deep meditation. And so that's the Savitri rhythm pranayama.
So 64-32 means 64 inhalation and 32 Antarkumbhaka,
Yes.
Swamiji?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
And how if we take it as one rhythm, how many rhythms and how many times can it be done safely?
So we follow the tantric, this energy tradition, then we sort of see the 9 rounds is a one garsana, or the one cycle of the practice, as the 9 is the completion. Again, you can think of like 108. So that divides into the 9 sets of 9. So I would do the multiples of the 9 rounds. So we do the 9 rounds, and then if you feel you got a bit more time, then you can do 18 rounds, you can do 27 rounds. But we like to always do in multiples of 9 in the ancient tantric or the energy tradition of Gitananda yoga. And I think Swamiji also mentions the first 9 rounds will be to relax your body. Then the next 9 rounds will become your pratyahara. So it will also start to relax your mind and withdraw the energy. And then that will lead you into dharana, dhyana, and samadhi. So each set of 9 rounds can be seen for body, mind, energy, and then that will lead us towards the spiritual awakening too, if we go further deeper. Hope that explains or makes some sense.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes.
Thank you.